I grew up in southeastern Massachusetts in a predominantly Irish and Portuguese neighborhood, and my family was the only Italian-American family, and I was very aware of growing up Italian because our home, that's where the culture was celebrated, inside the home, and everyone knew we were Italian-American, and it was just something really special to hold on to those traditions that my family had carried over from Italy and also from New York. My family settled in New York originally, and when they moved to the Boston area, it was a very different situation. So as the youngest member of the third generation, I had a very unique and different experience from my siblings who grew up in a much more Italian neighborhood. In New England was that my family didn't really keep the language, and it was difficult to understand the history. It was not something I was taught in school. I took Spanish, for example, in high school, and I had a yearning to learn the language, but there was not, the educational system didn't support that, so I felt the loss of not knowing my history and the language, and that's something that I've learned through graduate school. And I'm the first member in my family to come back to Italy, and it's really important to understand the past and to know where we came from, to understand the political and economic struggles, because that's who we are. And I grew up different, knowing I was different from other people, so it now makes a lot of sense to understand where my grandparents came from, why they left, and why my family settled in America. I'm interested in working class studies, and that led me to pursue Italian-American studies. I grew up working class in the Northeast, and I'm very interested in labor studies and looking at work and how work shapes culture and identity, and it was really important for me to look at those aspects of Italian-American culture because for me, it's about the intersections. And it's very exciting to look at this kind of work in literature and in cultural studies because it's such a prevalent part of who we are. It really shapes culture and social realities and political struggles in America and beyond. One of the challenges of Italian-American studies for me is connecting contemporary immigration with the past. I discovered through my own research as a doctoral student that my family was connected to labor radicalism. My grandfather and my great-uncle had to leave Sicily because of their political activity, and they carried that on when they moved to New York. So it was really a pivotal moment for me to connect my own family's history with my doctoral studies, and that's really informed how I teach and research about Italian-American studies. To be back here in Calabria. Earlier this summer, I studied at the Italian Diaspora Summer Institute at the University of Calabria, and it really helped shape my research, and it's an honor to be here teaching the graduate students in the CLIA program. We're having wonderful conversations, and I really see a lot of intersections with their focus, the focus of their dissertations and my work, so it's really exciting to be back here. Italian-American Studies, I think, is going to grow. There's a lot of potential here in looking at diaspora studies, especially within contemporary migration issues as well as class issues. The field of working class studies is something that the students here are very interested in, and we see a lot of commonalities between the U.S. and Italy, and I think it's really incredible to have a conversation with emerging scholars in the field. the documentary Voices of the Lumbi resonates with students here in Calabria. We had a really interesting conversation about the lack of jobs and economic realities that they're facing. So they recognized how important it is to understand local history and to really understand Native American history. So it was a good opportunity for us to talk about ethnicity and culture and nationalism. And what happens when they start having a violent relationship with one another, emotionally violent, sometimes physically violent, psychologically violent. So mothers controlling their sons, sons being in a state of arrested development because they can't let go of the mother influence. Isn't it called the Mamone here in Italy? You know what I'm talking about? You're all smiling. I finally got you to smile. So I took that, and that was the opening intro of my dissertation, the Mamone. This is a cultural phenomenon happening here in Italy that is manifesting itself in the literature and has been since the 1920s.
Like Tony Soprano.
Yes.
Tony Soprano.
Totally.
Olivia.